everyone, I'm Deb and this is DB Designs and Sewing Australia. Today we're going to do part 2 of the ginger jeans sew along. Now one of my subscribers said that when she made the ginger jeans that the pocket bags joined to the fly, and that is true for view B. View B is the high rise, and so I have made a high rise pair before. And as you can see, the pocket bags join into the fly, but they don't join, it doesn't join very far down. Now this hasn't been ironed yet, but even when it's ironed, it's very, very wrinkly in there because they're so high in the waist on me that top section all wrinkles up. So that's why I'm doing the low rise. But it does have, the pockets are very, very different depending which view you do. So this is the view I'm doing, which is view A, and you can see the pocket bags there, but then it folds back over itself, and that's how you get the pocket bag, which is the same as the pocket bag inside this one. So it's a free pocket bag, it does not attach to the fly. Whereas in this set, which is view B, the pocket bag joins to the fly. And when I looked at some of my other ready-to-wear jeans, now this is just a pair of Levi jeans, the pocket bag joined to the fly. I don't mind the pocket bag joining to the fly. You can see in this view, this is where that goes, but when I make view B again, and I probably will, but I will make an adjustment in the length of the rise. I am going to make that pocket bag go down to the end of the fly. The only thing I can say is when your pocket bags go up like that and join into your fly and you've got this much space below your fly, it's not really like a tummy trimmer sort of effect. It's more of a flattening of your tummy, but my issue goes way below that, goes right down to where your fly is. And so on the ready to wear, as you can see, this is quite a short fly. These are supposed to be low rise jeans, but on me they come up to my waist. And you can see that that pocket bag is attached, but it goes all the way into the bottom of the fly. So next time I make view B and I shorten it, I'm going to check and see how long I need to make those pocket bags so that that pocket bag joins into the fly right to the very, very end of the fly. So if you've made the ginger jeans before and were thinking that that's not how the pocket bags were when I made it, that is the difference. The difference is view A have the free pockets and view B have the pockets that are attached to the fly. So now we're going to get on with some sewing. So the first thing they have you do is iron on the interfacing, which I have ironed on the it's got fluff all over it already. Iron on the interfacing on the back pockets, the front pocket facings, and the coin pocket. And so that is what the coin pocket looks like. Now you turn it over 1.9 centimeters or 19 millimeters, which is 3/4 of an inch. And then I tucked under the other edge. Now that was on the back pocket, and then I top stitched it. I did the same thing, although my top stitching is closer together on the front. I really like the pockets with a wider top stitching. I think it looks really nice. And what you'll notice about these pockets is the pocket is curved. You can see this edge here has got a curve. Now that goes on the inside, close to your center back seam, and this goes on the outside. It's a really nice pocket on these jeans, and So I have done that so far. So next what we've got to do is top stitch this section down here twice. Now I will back stitch the top stitching here, but I will also pull it through to the wrong side and tie knots so that it does not come undone. And while I'm at the machine top stitching, I'm going to top stitch this pocket as well. So I'm just going to measure my 3/4 of an inch so I can press it up by that much. And now that I've pressed that up, we'll press that over, I am going to turn under, and now I am ready to top stitch this as well. I will put a couple of pins in it just to hold it in place. I find that with stretch denim, I do more pinning than I do with rigid denim. Rigid denim tends to stay in place. It's not that stretch denim shifts around. You just need to make sure it's very, very accurate because you can stretch it out while you're sewing it. So now, over to the sewing machine, going to sew the coin pocket down and going to sew the other back pocket. So now that's the other pocket back pocket stitched, the coin pocket stitched on, and then I've overlocked this round edge here, which is going to get zigzagged onto what's called the pocket facing. So that will be my coin pocket. I'm just pressing in the edges of the back pockets, and then I'll be putting them aside for a little bit until we do the back. But that will be all our pockets done, and they actually get top stitched on. So there's no more stitching to do for these pockets until we actually attach them to the back of the jeans. Now I've pressed that under, I want to give it a really hard press and then use the clapper to make sure it stays down in place. Whoa. This edge is trying to pop out. Just pressing down firmly with the clapper, take all the steam out and hopefully get a really good crease. So you can see now, the clapper really helps with setting your pocket edges in. So those folded edges, because when it comes time to stitch them on, now you could tack those, don't think it's called tacking anymore, hand stitch those around to keep that nice and straight. We've got both pockets. My other one's pressed with the clapper lasted overnight, so and when you are actually attaching your pockets, you can also hand tack them into place, especially if you don't exactly know where you want them to be. I've found mine it's in a fine position for me, but you can see that it's, can you see? It's slightly curved. So this is how they would be. This is going to be the centre back seam here and the curved pockets there. So that's our back pockets ready to go. There's our two front pocket facings, they're calling it. And they actually go this way. So this is the outside of the jeans. Here's the rounded edge. Here's the coin pocket. So now the next thing we're going to do is assemble the front pockets. This is the fabric I've got that is called the pocket lining. So this is your piece of cotton fabric or polycotton or whatever you wanted to use as your pocket bag lining. So we've got these two pieces here. Now what we need to decide is, do we want the florally part to be inside the pocket, so when you're not going to be able to see it. You can't see it from the outside. So do you want it to be, if you looked inside the pocket, that's what you'd see? Or do you want it to be, when you went to put your jeans on, do you want to see contrasting lining fabric on the inside like that? Because basically you can't really see much of it in here. So I'm going to have it so that the right side, because this fabric's definitely got a right side and a wrong side. So when I go to put them on, I can see that. Now the next thing we're going to do is to sew the pocket bag to the pocket facings. Now this can be a little bit confusing because of the shape of the pocket, but at the end of the day, this is what it's going to look like. So here's my coin pocket, and this gets folded over here to make a pocket bag. So when I look inside my pants, when you are putting them on, that's what I will see. So I know this is around the right way. This doesn't look like much of this is exposing the coin pocket at this stage, but that actually, this gets stitched onto the front of your pants. So we have a piece of fabric that's this shape. And so although you might think, what people want to do is already make the shape like this, like that might be the pocket, but that is not the case. We're putting it over on the solid side. So we're putting it like this because it is going to fold back and make the pocket bag. So that's going to be our pocket bag. So you're stitching that on all the way around. Now I'm just stitching this on my normal sewing machine. I've got a size 18 denim needle in my machine. This has got all markings to match up. But it's not something that's going to be exposed or going to be seen. So don't worry about it too much. It just really needs to be really smooth and really flat. And remembering that you are sewing a stretch denim onto another non-stretch fabric. The main thing is, do you want your patterned fabric or your lining fabric so that when you go to put your jeans on and you look inside them, that's what you see. So that's how I've got mine. Rather than the inside of the pocket, it's actually the outside of the pocket bag. So I'm going to go and sew those now on my regular sewing machine, and it is 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters around the entire perimeter of the pocket facing. Now we've got these attached, we're going to give them a press so that everything stays in place nicely, because the next thing we're going to be doing is sewing the front legs. to the pocket facing. Just wait for my iron to wake up. The next step is to stitch the pocket lining, or pocket bag as I call it, to the front leg. Now, this may seem a little bit odd, and I know that you're looking at it back to front. So, this is the right side of the jeans, and this is what they're calling the right side of the pocket lining. It's actually the inside of the pocket lining, the pocket bag. And so we're going to stitch, it's hard to see in this fabric, along this curve. Now you might think, how is that going to come back here? It's going to be on the outside instead of on the inside. What you're going to do once you've stitched that curve is clip it, turn it to the inside. So you will have turned it to the inside once it's all clipped and beautiful, top stitched it down, and then you're going to flip that pocket bag back out, and then it's going to expose that facing, and on the other side we'll have the coin pocket on it. So can seem a little bit strange, and you'll be thinking, I must have cut something out incorrectly, or I've joined the wrong pieces together. Just take your time and think about it, because pockets on all different jeans are all constructed differently, and this is actually a really good way of doing your pockets, but you need to get your head around the fact that this is on here, so we can see that the curves match and all that, and we know that this has to flip back, but then it's going to be on the outside of the jeans. We're actually flipping it over to the other side and then turning it back, and that will give us the proper pocket bag with our facing exposed where your hand would go into the pocket. So I'm going to do that for both of these. Then we'll come back and clip them, press them, must get my ham out, and show you how that's going to work, because it's probably one of the trickier parts with the pockets, because it's hard to see how it's going to end up. But we'll do that. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so now we've stitched that down. You see easier from this side. That is stitched down. We're going to clip it and trim it, because that's where you're going to get a nice pocket from. And I will just catch all my scraps. Make sure you don't clip in too far and cut the stitch line, because then you'll have the edge of your pocket fraying. Now I'm not going to understitch this, because I'm going to be top stitching it. So we just need to make sure it's really trimmed and give it a great press. So now we're going to press to give ourselves a really beautiful finish. And I usually use a ham for any of this type of pressing. Now what you do want to do is make sure that it is rolled just a millimetre or two to the inside so that none of that beautiful fancy fabric is showing on the outside, because that's just a special little surprise for you when you go to put your jeans on. So you can see it's got just a tiny edge. And make sure you're happy with the curve that you've created on the outside, because like, even though it's nice to have sewing things that are all beautiful on the inside, it is the outside that matters. I think it's the outside that matters to whether or not you're going to wear the garment. If something doesn't look that great on the outside, you're not going to be that keen to wear it. Fluff everywhere. And so to hold it in place while I do the top stitching on it, I will pin it. Just to ensure that that facing or pocket bag does not pop out to the outside. So that is going to be our pocket, and then you're going to flip this. So we're going to flip this pocket back around, and that is how you're going to get your jeans pocket. So I'm just going to clip and press the other one with the coin pocket, and then go over to my sewing machine and do the top stitching. I'll show you that when I'm finished. And now our top stitching is done on both sides. This is what the pocket looks like. Now you need to fold this pocket back over onto itself. And I'll just put a pin in that so you can see what that is looking like. There's a pin in the side. So there's the pocket bag. You can either overlock that bottom or you can do French seams. I'm going to do a French seam in it. And this is what it will look like from the outside. So I'm going to French seam that pocket, both pockets. This is the other side, all ready to go. I've only pinned those tops because I want it to be available when I go to do the French seam. So now we've got both pockets French seamed. Now, if at a later date I think the French seam line is too bulky, I will just cut them off and overlock them, which is what I think I did with the pink pair. But the pink pair is also a much lighter weight denim than this is. So I'll see how these ones go. And if I think it's too bulky, I will just overlock it off so that, because I can see on the pink ones that I've actually got a curve down there like that, which means that I did that after I had worn them, most probably. Now, if they were men's jeans pockets, I would also be doing another row of stitching along the bottom. I'm forever fixing my husband's pockets because he puts his car keys in his pocket, and so it ruins your pockets, ruins the pocket bag. So for men's jeans, I would be doing a much more reinforced pocket and probably a slightly heavier weight fabric as the pocket bag. So now we've finished those pockets. Okay, and I need to baste exactly where I've pinned. I need to baste, easier to see from the front, along here to hold that pocket bag in place, and down this leg to hold the pocket bag in place. So I'll just do that now, and then we will be up to the fly. So now we're up to doing the fly, the scariest part. But at the end of the day, you know how a fly's got to look. You've got a left and a right front. You join those together and you've got a zipper in here. So there are so many ways to sew a fly and so many different instructions to sew a fly. And as I'm making the ginger jeans as a sew along, I'm going to make it as per the ginger jeans instructions. I have made it lots of other ways. I have often used the instructions from The Last Stitch. She does great flies. They're easy to do, but we're going to do it the way the ginger jeans say to do it. It's not my preferred way of doing zips, I must say, because you sew it with a long stitch by sewing the front together, and then you undo that stitch at a later stage. But I think I must have made this first pair of ginger jeans as per that, and it's actually got a really good fly, so you can't see it. It's actually set well back into it. So sometimes that depends on the pattern, not on you. So our left front, I'm going to overlock just from here to here. Okay, so to actually give you a few good hints in here. I already knew this, but just in case you didn't know, if you're using an overlocker, so you want to overlock this whole section, so this fly down to here, you need to start at the bottom so that your overlocker doesn't accidentally cut any of this fabric. So there we have it. Probably can't see on the black. We have overlocked that part there. What does it say to do next? Place front leg pieces right sides together. So we're talking about the crutch front pieces. So they want you to place the front right leg pieces together, aligning the fly extension and crutch seams starting from the top center front crutch. Baste a straight seam with the longest stitch possible to the circle marking, and I can actually see my circle marking. It's at the very bottom of remembering that the seam allowance is a 5/8 of an inch or 1.6 centimeters. A lot of patterns say 1.5 centimeters or 15 mil, but technically speaking, it is actually 16 mil. Not that anyone's getting a vernier out and checking your seams, but you know, technically speaking, it's 1.6 or closest to 1.6. So what they want you to do is sew in a large stitch so it can be pulled out until you get to the dot. And I know that my dot is right down here. And then sew the rest of the crutch in a normal length seam. Why wouldn't I be changing it? I usually sew on a 2.2, so I'd be sewing it on a 2. 1, because it's curved, and 2, because it's a crutch. So that's what we're going to do next. And then I'll be back. Okay, I've stitched as per the instructions, so you can see here I have stitched this in a large stitch so it can be undone, and then when I got to the point, to the dot here, I've gone into a smaller stitch which is going to remain in. The other is going to be pulled out later. And now the instructions say to, this is the actual instructions, so as per what they say, I've stitched in large stitch. Once I've got to the point, then, sorry, to the dot, I've then gone on to a smaller stitch, which is going to be staying in. So now, as per instructions, and my dot is right there where my stitching, my proper stitching, permanent stitching starts. So we're going to clip into that. Another reason why you can change down to slightly lower stitch than what you would usually use. So now, that's probably one of the scarier parts. Is it all going to be fine? Yes, it is. It's all staying together perfectly well. We're just going to overlock this little section here. Is that what they want you to do? Yes, they do. So now we're going to press it open. The best way to press with a hand. And we need to press the overlock section to the left. And remembering when they're talking about the left and the right side of things, they're talking about as it is on your body. So if these are the pants on your body, we need to be pressing it to my left if I had the jeans on. So that's what it's looking like now. That curve will go under. So now, as you can see from the image here, this is the front. Even though it looks like a back, it's the front. And they want you to turn the pants over to the right side facing. So I've got the pants facing me the right way, keeping that facing where it should be. In fact, just pop a couple of little pins in there to keep that in the correct spot. Or you could hand tack that down even. And they want you to turn the pants over to the right side facing up. So 2 rows of top stitching along the entire length of the center front seam on the left leg. So remembering, left leg as they're on me. This is my left hand. Not sure if that's what it looks like on screen when you video yourself. Sometimes it can be reversed around. But this is my left leg. So I'm going to do 2 rows of top stitching all the way down, which is why they got you to press this permanent seam over to the left hand side, so you can just do continuous seam all the way down. So let's do that top stitching. We're getting there. Now, so I remember which is the left and which is the right. I'm going to pop some pins in there. I'm going to make sure that the bottom part, right near underneath your crutch, your actual crutch, is over to the left. It's pretty easy for that to flip out and be all over the place. And the last thing you want to do is unpick top stitching, because it can leave a bit of a mark sometimes. So we're going to stitch 2 rows of top stitching all the way down here, starting from the top, going all the way down to the very bottom of the crutch. So there's the top stitching done. all the way down into the crotch. And the next thing they want you to do, lay the pants face down, and they want you to, let me just read it. Turn the pants over so the wrong side is facing up. Okay, lay the zipper face down on the right fly extension, which is this one, along the center front seam so that the extension along the center front seam so that the left front edge of the zipper tape aligns with the center front seam. So what they have you do is pin your fly in place. Now, these zipper teeth here need to be 1 centimetre or 10 mil away from your centre front. So where you stitch, it's got to be 1 centimetre away, so I can see the outside teeth of this zipper here, and here is my centre front here. That measures 1 centimetre. Now we're not sewing through all the layers to the outside, we're only sewing it onto the fly extension. So it's actually very, very close to the center front that we're going to be sewing it. So I'm going to sew that and then come back and show you how that looks and how we got there. Now I have sewn in the first side of the fly. Let me just move you closer so you can see. So this is the first side of the fly sewn on, and I actually do 2 passes. And if you've ever wondered, when you sew in a fly or sometimes an invisible zip, if you sew in the invisible zip using the method where you've already stitched the seam, so you've already stitched up to where you want the zip to end and you want to sew in the invisible zip, you have to have the ability to be able to reach through and pull that zipper up at some stage when you get to a certain point on your jeans. I think I had the zipper down, stitched along here, and then I needed to pull the zipper up, but I didn't want to, I lift the foot up, but I didn't want to take the needle out. I didn't want any sort of a level change. So if you ever want to know how to get a zip up, so you've sewn your zip down to here, and now you need to get this out the way. I use, I think they're called hemostat forceps, and what they do is they actually clamp and clip together. So you can see here that that locks together twice and it doesn't come undone. So for instance, you can put that on the end of your zipper while it's under the sewing machine, clamp down on it, and you can use one hand. You don't need to use 2 hands. All you're doing then is pulling it, and you can get, I've also got a curved pair. The curved pair I use for some invisible zips. Now this was a couture technique that I heard about, using these instead of trying to thread something through your zipper and pull it up, or trying to use the end of your scissors or tweezers, because tweezers you've got to hold it tight. These, once these are on here and locked in place, you can let it go. So it's still attached to it. Unlike tweezers that you have to keep the pressure on, otherwise it's just going to come off. These are a really good tool. So just a handy hint for pulling zips up. You know, when you get to the part, to this part, and you've got to get past, you don't want to come out to the side. You want it to be straight and level all the way up for a perfect zip. You can use one of those tools. We've sewn the right side of the zipper on. It was the part that did not have the overlocking on it. It's nice and close. So I think the main thing is when you look on the inside, this is going to be our side that overlaps. So it's going to overlap here. This is what we're going to see. And this other part that's already been sewn is underneath. So when we look at the zip, we can see that it's nice and close, and you're not going to have a huge gap in your zip. You need to try and get your zip in as close as possible so that you don't have a space. And I must admit, if I followed the instructions on this pair, look how far in that flaps over. I'm not sure if that's just good sewing or good luck. Let's see how this one turns out, because I don't think the pink ones I did the same way. Sometimes I make it up as I go along. Because at the end of the day, we know how the zip's got to be. This one, I know I did the same way because I don't always do the double row of stitching here, and I have done it on that pair. And on this pair, I only did a single one, so I will have used a different method. But quite frankly, I think oh no, both methods you can't see the zip. So this one you can't see the zip either when it pulls apart. So that is what I try and get to be really good on jeans, is that your zip's not exposed when you've got the jeans on. They're stretched jeans, so they'll already be under a bit of duress in the front because they're supposed to be stretching around your body. But that is my main aim with the zip, and for it to look really neat. So, put the zipper in place using zipper foot, sew right side of zipper fly extension close to the zipper teeth, sew the zipper to the fly extension, keeping the leg tucked out of the way. Yeah, so what they're talking about there is when I sewed this in, I actually had the pants like this, so that even though this looks like it's on the center seam that I did, it's actually just very, very close. I know I'm going to get a good zip out of this. And that's what they're telling you to do. You're not sewing it down like that. You're just sewing it to what they're calling the fly extension. So this section here. So now we're going to top stitch, remembering this top stitching belongs to this side. So it's going to be on the outside edge, like in these. It's going to be on the outside edge here. But we've also got the top stitching that has to happen down along here. We've already stitched that zip in. We need to top stitch this section here, which means I will need these again. Now that top stitching's done, so that top stitching is going to belong to the right hand side of the pants, coin pocket, and the double top stitching is going to belong to the left hand. And this is where we're going to do the top stitching for the fly. But before we do the top stitching for the fly, we need to actually sew the fly into place. Now it's not attached to anything else at this stage, just the fly extension. So we're going to sew that on and then meet back here again. So the instructions say, pin the left side of the zipper to the other fly extension, being sure not to pin the front of the pants. Stitch close to the teeth of the zipper and then close the edge of the zipper tape using a zipper foot to secure. What you're basically doing is sewing this zipper in. Now I already sewed the other side of the zipper in twice, and I will also sew this side of the zipper in twice. So it's just something I do when I sew jeans, because often when you do the top stitching on jeans, it doesn't actually catch the zipper tape in it. It only catches the fly extension in it. So I'm going to go and sew this zipper on the sewing machine and then let you have a look. So now I've sewn both sides of the zipper in, and as you'll notice, that center front seam is still in there. To get this zipper up and down and out of the way when you need to sew beside it, I have been using this tool. As you can see, you can let go of it. You can reposition things under the sewing machine, and you can let go of it and then just grab back hold of it. And when I use it all the time, I get really good at opening it, also releasing it and clipping it back together just with one hand. Other than that, you can use two hands because it has got like little teeth that it clips up tight with. Same with the curved ones. Use it in other parts of sewing. Really, really handy tool. So now we've got this done. Turn the pants over right side facing up. There they are, looking beautiful. And I can already feel that my zipper is mainly under the double row of top stitching, which is where we want it to be. When I put a pin through the zipper, that's where my zipper teeth are. So can you see? I'll put one on the other side so that you can see it. So you can see where that white pin is. It's in the outside edge of the top stitching. Remember, this top stitching, 2 rows belongs to this side, the left side, and this single row belongs to the right hand side. So I know that my zip's pretty good. It's going to be hidden. So the next thing we need to, they're still not opening it up. No, they're not opening it up yet. Okay, so now we've got our pants looking beautiful. We're happy with where the zipper is in it. I can still move that zipper up and down by using my tool. The other way you can do it. You can tie things through this part of the zip and pull it up and down. Done that before. Hooked things in, used tweezers, tried to manipulate around it, but the last thing you want is to get a little bump because you've got to go past the zipper pull. That's what it's called, the zipper pull. So now we need our template to do our zip top stitching. So now we're going to do the top stitching of the fly. One of the most important things aesthetically, because it's going to be the difference between what you really like about your jeans, just lift you up a little bit, and what you don't. So this is the guide that comes with it. And this is a guide that I usually use. I can see that I've used this differently and folded it in like that, but when we compare the two, so this is the one that came out of the last stitch jeans sewing kit, I want to call it. Jeans making toolkit, which you can download off the internet for free. And Johanna also has a jeans making book. What we've got to do is decide exactly where we're going to have this. First thing I need to do is work out where the end of my zip is. I know this is where it's supposed to come down to, and my zip actually comes down to here. So remembering I'm using chalk, that disappears. And I'm just drawing a line with my template to make sure I actually like it. So even if you use on a practice piece of fabric, how you're going to draw in, mark your fly, if you're not sure that it's going to be aesthetically pleasing to you, you can easily do a practice one on some scrap fabric. Or if you've got other jeans that you really like, whoops, the width of the fly on, now this is identical to the Levi's jeans as well. So that seems like a pretty good template that comes with the ginger jeans. So we're going to go with that. So when I pin this down, one of the rows is not even going to be caught in by the fly facing. I'm just pinning this in. So I'm going to have to be very careful that I do not hit this zip stopper. So I'm going to do my first pass on the inside of that line so that it catches the fly extension. Just keep on forgetting what they call it. So remembering it doesn't matter if you're not catching the zip in, because the zip's already stitched in. It's already stitched in on both sides. So I'm just going to go and do the top stitching and see how that works out. So now I've done my top stitching and it worked out really well. The only thing I will say is once you get down to this area, it's a good idea to hand wheel, because you don't want to hit any of the metal parts of the zip. I've just got to pull this all through to the correct side. Now mine's clearing the zip, and I actually used a 5-inch zip, but depending which style you make, the other style has a longer zip, but I mainly use 5-inch zips for all my jeans because I'm short. So except for the high-waisted ones that I made, which I must have used a 6-inch zip. And I think my lander pants I use a 6-inch zip for those too. There is my top stitching done. So now we are going to unpick that seam. And this is why I don't love this method, because I don't like doing this bit. There are a lot of other methods that you can use that don't involve already stitching it together, but I must say, having said that, this method, I'm just always worried that I'm going to somehow nick the seam. You shouldn't, because you're only pulling out big stitches, but once you get this far, you don't want any mishaps in it, really. So there is our fly done. And all we have to do now is put on our fly shield. Now your fly shield is what goes in between, well, your fly and your undies, really, so that your zip doesn't get caught on your undies. Or if you don't wear undies, even worse. So the first thing you do with this fly shield, this is a fly shield here, you fold it in half like I have here. You sew that seam across. This is on the slanted edge, and trim it off and turn it out the right way. Then you probably give it a really good press. So there is our fly shield. And when we look at our fly, you can see that our fly shield is going to have to go on here. Now, a lot of fly shields get overlocked before they get stitched to this fly extension. But this is not the case with this one. What does it say to do? Flip the jeans wrong side facing up. Yes, that's what we've got. Align the folded edge of the fly shield to the left edge of the finished fly extension. So that's the left edge. So we're actually aligning this so that it covers, really means that the fly is right in the middle. So this is our edge that's already overlocked. We're lining up the side of the fly shield with that overlocked edge, which means that we're going to have these two raw edges here. This being the fly shield, this being the fly extension. Stitch the shield in place along the right fly extension, trim the excess, finish it with a serger. So we're just going to pin this on, and we're going to stitch down, not catching anything else in. We're just doing the fly shield to the fly extension, and then we're just going to zip that off with the overlocker. So now that fly shield is attached, but it's still flapping around. So to stop it from doing that, we want to do some bar tacking. And you can see that bar tacking is wherever you want to put it, quite frankly. You can see from this image, they want you to put it here on the outside edge and here on the inside edge. In ready-to-wear jeans, they've got it right up here on the inside edge, and they've got it here on the inside edge. When I did it on these ones, I did it inside edge, inside edge. They've got it on the outer edge. I actually prefer it on the inside edge, and I think it's more useful on the inside edge, holds everything closer together. So what it's doing is, because you need this fly shield open to be able to get into your jeans with a zip, because that is going to get stitched across the top there, but I'll just stitch that there so that to hold it. But it's basically going to be, one, stopping your fly from coming down too far, and two, it's holding this shield in place. Now, if this pin where I'm going to bar tack is what's holding this fly shield from just flapping back open, it's not much use if you have not held your fly shield down. Now, you could do this invisibly on the inside. You do not have to bar tack. Or you could hand sew it down on the inside. There's plenty of ways to make it stay down there, but you do need to secure it, because otherwise you're going to have to shove your hands down your pants and make sure it's over properly. And every time you go to the loo, you don't want to be doing that. So it doesn't move at all, I'm going to be doing some bar tacking, but I need to get a piece of fabric and practice it. Okay, that's our fronts finished. Now we've got a fly, we've got pockets, we've got bar tacking, and you can see that bar tacking on the back only just caught in that fly shield. At the bottom it caught it in easily. So when you undo your fly, then you're going to have a piece like this, like you do in ready to wear. It's really, really important that you have that fly shield. So next time we meet, we'll be on to part 3, and it will be all about the back of the jeans. So that's not as lengthy to do the back of the jeans, and then we'll be joining them together, and then the waistband. So stay tuned for part 3, at which time we will be starting on the backs. Really happy with this, really happy with the fly. The test for fly is to make sure that your fly is not exposed. So, I mean, I do have a zipper that's a very good colour match. It's a YKK zip, because that's all I use in jeans. So I try to get the colour to match as close as possible, but when you're ordering off the internet, that's not always possible. But the best zips I've used for jeans so far. Anyway, oh, what am I wearing? I'm wearing my Quebec skirt. Can't even see. So I'm wearing my Quebec skirt. That's just a Spencer because it's sunny but it's cold, and an all-in easy fit shirt. Please like and subscribe. I will be coming back with part 3, which is the back. So hopefully you can follow this. Not always the way I would do a fly, but there are so many different ways. And as long as the outcome is good, you haven't got a fly where you can already see the teeth and your item's just flying flat, then you've been successful, because you'll just get better and better at inserting flies, and you will have your own preferred way of doing it. Everybody have a wonderful sewing week. I will talk to you soon, and I will be back with part 3. Have a great sewing week. Bye.